What's up, PC?
What's up?
Whew.
I'm here. I made it.
Yeah, you did. Patrick is in.
2 shows without me, Brian.
I know. I don't love it, but we're making do with everything we got going on.
It just shows I'm replaceable.
Oh, well, you know what they say. Everyone's replaceable, but that doesn't mean that we want to replace you.
Oh, man.
No, but in all seriousness, Patrick's been super helpful to Con Porter as Con gets ready to complete at the Masters Games this weekend in Ohio. Hundreds and hundreds of athletes from around the world descending there to compete. I was actually looking through a lot of the divisions last night and this morning. There's going to be some really, really good competition. A lot of the best athletes in those divisions are showing up. There were a few notable names I saw that weren't registered that did well in the qualifiers, but you kind of expect two things in the Masters age categories, that there are more frequently injuries that come up as they push the limits of what the body can do at those ages, and also that there's people who kind of cycle in and out of those competitive divisions. You may not see some people for a year or two, and then they can come back and actually be right at the top of a division if they've moved up into a new age category or found some more time in their life as it evolves in their later years to invest in their training and pursuit of competition. I am not 100% sure on Patrick's internet situation over there. PC, are you with us? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll do my best with or without him, I suppose. Don't have any other guests coming on today. But yeah, we just recently put up the post for take him out of there. He's restarting some stuff. But we just recently put up the post for, yes, thank you, PC, for helping Con and the co-pilots on the trip. Highland. Fair enough. If you got any comments, questions, you can drop them down here and I'll and help me out. But we will let me see if I can get this up here. We just posted on B.Friendly Fitness the picks for the competition coming up next weekend in Mesa, Arizona. 50 women, again, from all over the place are coming to compete there. Some familiar names from Indianapolis, some new names. And if you're just joining, Patrick will be back with us shortly. He had to reboot his computer over there. But we have down at the bottom, Natalia Biberica. She's from Croatia. I've seen her compete a few times in person. It's pretty cool that she's qualified for this. She trains with, or trains occasionally at least with Augustin Volishnik, who's the best guy over there. He was, at this point, he's only actually a couple backfill spots away from being invited as well. So kind of the best male and female from Croatia, both attempting to get involved here with WFP, which is cool. Amanda Fisher, she was in Indianapolis, so she'll be back in the mix. Vivian Marie Christian out of Germany, young athlete from there. She's actually featured in the picture right there. Same for her. Nelly Nurmi from Finland. Seen her compete the last 2 years at the Turku Tumiopaiva. Got to know her a little bit. She's competed in Spain in some off-season competitions. And we have actually a male and female from Finland coming to compete this time. We had Lisa Laiko. They're obviously joining Joona Koski, but Lisa Laiko was in Indianapolis, and we got a Nelly Nurmi this time, and Sam Zerlich will be the male in the challenger field. So cool to have some of the best from Finland coming across. Allison Wynn is a returner. Kendall Gilmore, some success at teenage division. So she'll be here popping up into the elite individual field on the challenger side. Paige Powers, of course. Really cool to see her back in competition. Obviously, she competed at Mayhem Classic, but very soon after giving birth, definitely some limitations there. I would expect it in the last 6 months or so since it's happened. I guess 5 months, 4 months, 4.5. That she'll be a very different version of herself than we saw at Mayhem. So not really sure how far along she's come in that process. And it may be one of those things also where she's not too sure until she goes and competes and see how the body responds. So have her here in the bottom half of the challenger field, but would definitely say asterisk by Paige Powers. Clearly the top end potential is much higher than this. Just not really sure where she's at on that process back yet. Ariel Saunders, Metcon Rush crash, I think before step up is. Yeah, Ariel Saunders competes a bunch usually in the Southeast, East Coast. I don't think she was at Metcon Rush this year. She may have been last year. But yeah, she's competed some competitions. Taller athlete, good power output, good runner. What's up, PC?
What's up?
Just walking through some of the challengers on the bottom 10 here, just letting people know who they are mostly. And then we got Inga Lofttesnes rounding out the top or the bottom 10 here, I guess, on this first page. I am getting that feedback, Patrick, by the way. So I don't know. But Inga, I mean, Patrick, you know Inga quite well. She doesn't have a ton of competition experience outside of Norway, really. Right around top 100 in the Open the last 2 years. So you can kind of imagine a pretty good athlete with the sort of classic in the gym style stuff that gets programmed there. But anything you want to add about her?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's, basically she's a Norwegian athlete. I mean, she's really good at machines. She does really good in the Open, like most Norwegian athletes do. She actually does have a little bit of a background in Olympic lifting. She kind of like stepped back and did some weightlifting competitions there in Norway. Pretty tight with the Norwegian crew out there in Krieger. Is a real good friend of Sahara Kaya's. I've gotten to know her pretty well over the last couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think she's someone. I mean, you have her 11th there. I mean, this will be her first like international competition. I mean, well, at least U.S. Competition. It'll be that for a couple of the Norwegians, I think. But I just think it's a really good showing by them. It really shows like the concept of the World Fitness Championship is incorporating like some of this and creating opportunities for athletes that normally you don't see at this level. And I think that's very indicative of this 10 here. I mean, Vivian's a really good example. Not much international competition experience. Her high level competition has been at the team division, and she tried online qualifier, made it as an individual, and now she's an individual athlete. So she's been basically kind of doing that, and it's the World Fitness Project's given her the ability to kind of train as an individual, almost like an individual would train for the games athlete. So she had the challenger division. That's kind of been her focus. Obviously being in the pro division would be great, but it's kind of given someone like her the ability to something just popped up here and it's like, can't get off my stage. 1 second.
Yeah, it's meaningful competition reps,
100%.
Against a very, very international field. I don't know how it happened. I skipped over Camila Takeva.
I know. I was about to say, did you talk about her?
I don't know. I was literally running from 20 up, and some I missed her. But she's from Kazakhstan. She's competed with some of the teams out of Russia, KT, over there, and she also had some really good competition performances in the off season. The circumstances were a little bit, as you'd expect, fortunate for her to be able to do this. But she beat Karen Freyova in a competition last fall. And she's been on some podiums and threatening some other podiums in and around the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and Russia. So a lot of competition experience for her. And I just wanted to add on the back end of what you're saying about Inga Lofttesnes is that a lot of the Norwegian athletes that have that team competition or competition experience in Scandinavia, they've been throwing their name in the ring individually more and more and doing well. And I don't really think that. I feel like she can be in the middle of this field and may even push higher than that, but it hasn't seemingly taken them a lot of time to transition into having respectable performances as individuals. So for the couple new ones we see here and some of the others, I'm expecting them to do the same. I expect that they just know how to compete, know themselves really well, and that with the quality of coaching they have there, that they come in really, really prepared. Yeah, it was the competition down in Cyprus that she beat Karen at, which Bronislaw was also. And I think Bronislaw got like 20 something in the first workout and won like 8 of the next 10 workouts. Something crazy. But yeah, that was a competition. Good memory, Lynn.
Most people probably won't recognize a lot of names on this list, but obviously these are names that we know very well just from our world travels. But then then you have a name like Paige Powers and an up and comer like Kendall Gilmore. Amanda Fisher is very popular due to her her experience in grid. And then Ariel Sanders is one of those athletes. All of us have kind of been waiting to kind of maybe break through. But I think this challenger division, we haven't gotten to the top 10, is probably it's obviously a lot stronger than the one that we saw in Indianapolis. I think it's going to be a really impressive to see, because Kendall Gilmore and someone like Paige Powers, we don't know their full capabilities yet. Kendall is 18-year-old. We've seen her in some semifinals, but we know her as a capacity athlete, a runner. She'll probably do pretty well, if not win the run, the first event. And for the challenger division, we'll see what else she does. She's a proven athlete. She's currently in Nashville training with Kyra and some of the other proven athletes. And then you have someone like Paige. We saw Paige come back to competition at Mayhem Classic, and there was no expectations. I believe she finished dead last, but she was just going out there to have fun, and that was great. And I got to talk to her at the games, and she's obviously in a lot better shape than she was then, and she looked really well. She looked really good. So I'm really interested. A good showing here in the challenger division by Paige will kind of give us an idea of where she stands at going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, I mentioned we expect something different than we saw at Mayhem from her. And I would even throw Ariel Sanders into that mix of like, I don't really know what her top end potential is. She's continuing to improve clearly. And, there's going to be workouts that she does well on. She should do well on the run. She should do well on the row lunge. But we got ring muscle ups, bar muscle ups, rope climbs, strict handstand push-ups, handstand walking pirouettes. There's a lot of gymnastics. And that's where Ariel needs to make those improvements. And so I think that if she's improved on that, you'll see her inside the top 10 here. But despite a couple good workouts for her, she could hit some landmines that drop her out of that top 10 too. So I'm curious to see what progressions Ariel's made. I'm excited to see Vivian again. She's still with no shortcuts. I'm not 100% sure. Is that what you think, Patrick? You're rating her lower than she performed in Pro 1. And I think that just goes to what Patrick just said, is that I think this quality of field from top to bottom is a little bit deeper. Some of the new people that have come in here, although we haven't seen them, she's, they have a lot of competition experience that we've been referencing. So certainly Vivian can do better than this, but I do think that some of those women in that, 11 through 17 range are coming in with better competition experience and credentials than she has. So it's going to be a fun division even at the bottom here. But let's go to the top 10 challenger division. Patrick, we'll start down at 10 and work our way up. But Blair Cheney was a late addition to this field. She's 19 years old. We saw her compete at Metcon Rush. She did quite well there. Jason Ansley is a huge fan of hers, and he had mentioned me to her before Metcon Rush, and he mentioned her to me again when she got entered into this field. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put her right here in the middle of the field. I think that she's got a lot of talent. I think she maybe doesn't even know how much talent she has yet. There are women below her on the list that have more competition experience, but that was sort of the case in Kansas City as well. So I'm excited to see her again in such a close time period.
Yeah, I don't know. There are maybe some women that have a little bit more competition experience, but I think Blair has a lot for someone of her age. This past year, she's done I believe someone told me 4 live competitions. Now, granted, the level of them has been, from, you said she did Metcon Rush?
I'm sorry, Monster Games. Monster
yeah,
Games.
Okay. I was about to say she did Metcon Rush. That's even more impressive. But she looked good in that Monster Games field. Like I said, that was a really good field of semifinal athletes there. And I thought I was very impressed, especially someone of her age. She performed like a veteran. Like someone had done a lot of competitions. And I think that Monster Games environment that Jason programs. It's very semifinal, like the feel of it, and I think that'll help her in the challenger division. She's not going to be enthralled by the lights or lack of lights at at WFP and the showcase that it is. I think she's going to be fine, and I like her at 10. But then once we get past 10, and we'll talk about it when we sit here and talk about each one of these ladies individually. But it's a good field.
It's very good. And the thing that actually stood out to me most about Blair in Kansas City was just she didn't seem to be phased one way or the other by previous event results. She had a good workout. It didn't seem to bother. She had a bad workout. It didn't seem to bother. She just kind of kept showing up and doing her thing and trusting her fitness. And that's a really good sign in a young athlete. Right ahead of her, we have Maribel Gallardo. Spain, as you know, always has athletes that they're throwing into the mix. And Maribel, one of these athletes that was in Indianapolis, who's coming back. She's in this division again. I didn't give her credit for being capable of finishing in the middle of that division in Indianapolis. Did you just take over? Okay, Patrick took that over. I was like, shoot, did I just lose something? Yeah, Maribel Gallardo, I didn't give her credit for maybe being in the middle of that division, and she was. What is this? Oh, yeah, here we go. So I think Maribel is going to be right in the mix again, kind of flitting between the first heat and the second heat of the challenger division. She previously I'd really only seen her do team stuff. She seems to be getting more comfortable as an individual, so I like her for a top 10. You want to take Riley?
Yeah, Riley. I was really looking forward to seeing what she did in Indiana, to do what she was going to do at Indianapolis, but unfortunately, she suffered a kind of a knee injury midway through, and it kind of really took away. I mean, she was doing really well up until that point, and then right after that sled push workout, she kind of like withdrew. But I did talk to her dad, and I talked to some of the coaches, and she's going to be fine. And obviously she is fine. Once again, she was one of the last, she made it this time. Last time she kind of got the backfill spot. And, this year again, for the qualifier for Mesa, she got the backfill spot. But the thing is, she's really good at live. And I think she's going to do really good at these workouts. Very good runner. I think her strength is very underrated, really good. I mean, I've been very impressed with her this year, coming from the teen division. There were some, you just don't know about someone like Riley. We have a lot of teen athletes who do very good. They finish like fifth, a couple podiums here and there, and they kind of just fall off or disappear. But she looks like she's getting better as she's getting older. And that showed this year in the Open. She unfortunately, because of that injury, she didn't get to compete at semifinals at the at Syndicate Crown, but she's healthy enough to be here, and I'm looking forward to see what she does.
Yeah, and we go, from one of the younger athletes, one of the more experienced athletes in this division, Emily Rethwell, a lot of team experience, some relevant individual experience. She made the pro field in Indianapolis. There's athletes on both the men's and women's side that were pros there that are challengers here, and the other way around, which that's kind of the nature of the competition and how we want it to be. I believe there are some outside scenarios where Emily Rethwell is in the mix for a spot at Copenhagen, but it would take her doing better than this and a few other things happening in the pro field. She was towards the bottom of that field last time. With the pros, I think that she'll be able to be more competitive in this division. I mean, just kind of see her here in the final heat throughout, but maybe not really in the podium race.
Yeah, I kind of like her in this spot, especially with that person, the athletes you have ahead of her. I guess I'll talk about Norte here. I'm impressed she even made it.
Look at Lynn, dude. Lynn gives me she gives me nothing. In the top 5, I have her 6. She's all over me.
Yep, nothing. I mean, for Norte to be a part of this competition is amazing. I mean, she sprained her ankle really bad a week before the qualifiers, and she was, the qualifier. I mean, there were some workouts there that I didn't think that she would even put weight on that ankle, but thanks to that just shows you the level of competition, the type of athlete she is, and how competitive she is. But I imagine she's 100% coming in the Mesa. And if that's the case, I don't think there's a workout within that's been announced that she would be bottom of the pack in this field. She'll be top 10s in all of them, top 5s in a lot of them as well. But we'll see what she does. I mean, I know she wasn't very happy with her performance outside of the top 5 in Indianapolis. She had a couple workouts where she blew up. Some unfortunate things, especially on the jerk, where she missed the re-rack and she lost almost about like 2.5 minutes because she couldn't get the bar and the weight off to re-rack it, and it cost her maybe a lift here and there. And then the last workout, she kind of fell apart. But that's what that last workout did to a lot of athletes, and she was just one of those athletes that she went for it. She knew she had to do something to get top 5, and instead she blew up, and she wasn't very happy. But at the end of the day, I think she's definitely someone that's looking at the top 5. I mean, you have her at 6, but she can easily be the top 3.
Yeah, and Lynn's already projecting Keishman's the person she's going to replace, despite her love for TTT. We'll get to Linda in a second. You mentioned some top 10s. Veshlemoy Kolstad, when she competes individually, she seems to always finish in the top 10. The last few times we've seen her was a 9th place at Wadland. She competed at the Storm Games. She was 5th. She competed in the Worlds for IF3s in 2023. Sometimes she's on their team for Norway, but she was 7th place when she did individual. So, last few data points we have from her are always kind of popping up relevant as an individual. She's very strong, pretty good power output, but she's got a lot of experience. She's not going to be the best runner. She's not going to be the best at the gymnastics, but she can hold her own. So I think that Veshlemoy is a sort of a sneaky one to watch in this division. If you haven't seen her before, it'll be fun for some people to get introduced to her as an individual.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of the Norwegian athlete, she has to be like the strongest on a barbell amongst them, and they all know that. In terms of the Krieger athletes, she's the lifter of the group, and that.
I feel like Uda can give her a challenge sometimes.
In certain lifts, I think Vesla has her in like the snatching events. Uda is definitely moving up there, but Vesla is definitely getting better. Her overall fitness is getting better as she transitioned from a team athlete to an individual. I mean, and she made the games on a team this year. No, she was not a part of that. Was Verena was on that team. But what you mentioned it kind of in the first half about some of the some of these Norwegians that we're seeing and international Scandinavians, we're seeing a lot more in the individual competition. I think that's actually a direct reflection of CrossFit. Basically getting rid of the team event and not the multiple teams from an affiliate. I think that's why you're seeing some of this is, most of these athletes who normally do team and enjoy doing team, they didn't have a chance really to do that. For instance, Oslo was only able to field one team, and then they had another team from a different affiliate, but that was a Krieger team. But because of that, what happened is a lot of these athletes were like, well, we'll just dip ourselves in the individual competition and see what happens. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in other competitions, because I think some of these athletes still like doing team, and you'll see them at some team competitions like IF3 and some other team-centric competitions. But yeah, Vesla, and then that kind of goes right into who you have at 4th. Is someone that is very familiar with Vesla, is a former teammate of hers, Ingrid.
Yeah, and I actually, if you're just looking at it on paper with her competition history, Veshlemoy has had better results than Ingrid up to this point. I feel like a good competition is coming from Ingrid here. I think there's a lot of stuff that lines up well for her. I think she's gotten some significant experience in recent years. So I would say that if you really know all of these athletes intimately, this might stand out to you as a little bit of a reach of a pick, which was kind of intentional. But I'm just feeling good about Ingrid coming into this.
I don't think it's a reach. I think Ingrid, like you said, she's kind of been trending that way. And I think I
feel like based on it would be fair to put her 6th right behind Veshlemoy and Norcha. And I just kind of was hedging my bets with her a little bit.
I don't hate that pick. I think Ingrid probably is. I think overall, she probably has the better fitness of between her and Vesla. I mean, she has more skill. She's very, very high skilled in gymnastics. And she's not too far behind Vesla when it comes to lifting. She's a smaller athlete. I think she'll be a lot better in any of the gymnastics type workouts or bar muscle ups or anything like that. But I really like the programming for Ingrid. So, yeah.
In the hi to AHA and also to T-Bird, thanks for being here. In the third spot, I've got Janice Chevalier. She was second in the Challenger division in Indianapolis. She's a young woman out of Canada. She's very good. We talked about her prior to Indy, getting some relevant competition experience in semifinals, Crash Crucible. She competed and got podium in Wadapalooza RX, two Wadapaloozas ago. So, she's been doing the right things along the way. And I think that she's really real well set up for another podium here.
I believe she's a brute athlete, right?
I defer to you on those coaches and training camps, man.
I believe she's a brute. I mean, let me confirm that, but yeah, she's been fun to watch this year. I mean, like I said, I remember her from Wadapalooza last year, and she kind of caught my eye on that. And usually, like I said, whenever you do, she's trained. She lives in Jacksonville, Florida. She's Canadian. I believe she is a brute athlete. I believe Coach L might be her coach, but like I said, I can't confirm that. Yeah, she's a brute athlete. Actually, Jaden, I believe, is her coach. Jaden,
Aussie.
Yeah, he's the Aussie. I got to meet him at the games this year. That's her as coach. But I believe Janie is 21, 22. And she made that move to Jacksonville, and I think that's it's obviously paying some dividends for her, and she's kind of committed to this, and that says a lot for again, a Canadian to move from her home down to. I mean, moving to Florida is never a bad thing, I guess. I mean, a third place that sounds about right, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like the two women you have in her, obviously games athletes, but hey, at some point Janie's got to make that jump, and she's got to start beating games athletes, and why not start beating them here?
Yeah, and I mean, I know Lynn is not very high on Linda Kieschman here, and she's probably looking at some of the programming and thinking that, but I got to keep in mind Linda Kieschman, when you look at the credentials of the athletes in this division, hers, along with Lexi Neely's, stand out compared to the field, and you don't achieve results like that and qualify for competitions like that and have consistent good performances at the best competitions in Europe unless you are good enough to make up for some of the holes. If you look back, and it's kind of difficult to do the comparison because the pro division is a totally different beast than the challenger division, but she did have, a fourth place finish on 4B at that. And then she had four finishes between 15th and 18th. Those finishes, if you correlate them to the challenger division, are going to result in 4 top 5 finishes, basically. And so even if she struggles with the strict handstand push-ups and the run, we're going to have athletes that struggle with the strict handstand push-ups plus another workout early in the competition that have a chance to surge back. I think that Linda's strengths will still carry her, and her experience will still carry her to a podium finish here. It was a difficult call for me between Linda and Janie. I was considering putting Janie at the 2 spot. I'm just giving the edge to Linda based solely on competition experience over the years. So I think that there will be some separation in this division towards the top athletes, but I couldn't really justify not having Linda on the podium here.
I mean, just based off experience and who she is, it hasn't been the greatest season for her, obviously, but I think again with this field of athletes, and again the challenger division having like a little bit lighter weight in terms of what they would have in the pro, I think that's the type of stuff that helps her out in this field, in this division. And also, I think it's something that she needs. I mean, for her to, I actually think that for her to kind of boost her confidence and go into the 2026 season, that she needs kind of like to finish top 2 or even win this.
Well, there's another thing that's super interesting with these couple athletes right at the top is that they're in the mix for that race of Copenhagen. So the incentive for them to have a top finish and maximize the points out of 250 that they can get, like, it's possible. There's some variables still to be determined, but it's possible the difference between first, second, and third for Linda could also be the extension of her WFP season. So she probably, of all the women in the challenger division, has the most at stake because she's going to be very close on that cut line to making it to the finals. And the finals is a situation where once you're there, it really, especially in the women's field, with some of the women not competing at one or the other tour stops, not competing at all the rest of the season, Bethany Flores, there could be a lot of opportunity there. So Linda, I think the other thing you have to consider is that the stakes for her are different than most of these other women who are out of the running for Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
One of those that's also in that situation is Lexi Neely. I feel like Lexi Neely is the easy pick here. I know you're as big of a Lexi Neely fan as I am, if not bigger. But do you see this as a runaway, or do you think someone can potentially challenge Lexi?
Well, I think the person that challenges Lexi is Lexi. I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, she's here. She's obviously competing because she knows what's at stake, and she wants to continue her season in Copenhagen. She has a good chance of doing that. But does she look at this as a step down? Because remember what she's done over the last 3 years. I mean, 26 at the games, 8 spot jumps up. She finished 18th at the games this year. She's becoming one of those perennial like games athletes, and she's only 22 years old. So this is a good test for her mentally. I think, she should win this, but I want to see how she does it. If it's a dominating performance, then yes, that's great. But if she's struggling, even though this field is very strong, to maybe put this field away, then I'm a little bit more concerned about her. But we know her coaches. Her coach is really good, and she listens to him, and she has a great head on her shoulders to begin with. So I think it's not a matter of the field being better, giving her challenge, but it's more of her challenging herself.
I love that perspective. So that's the challenger field for the women. And we'll take a look at the bottom of the pro division here, and then kind of the middle of the 50 athletes that are competing there. Tons of different storylines here. We'll try to kind of group a couple of these together, but we have two more Norwegian athletes that I have in this part of the leaderboard: Vortherman Mo and Andrea Solberg. If I told you that one of them finished better than 20th, PC, who do you think has a better chance to do it?
Looking at the work program and the workout, I have to say Andrea. But I also think like VAR is going to start. I mean, I'm actually picking VAR to win the first event, the 2-mile run. And I'm picking her to win, and that's saying a lot because, I mean, that 2-mile run, you got to look at you got Emily Rolfe, you have I
ran with Vord in Norway. She's a good runner.
Yeah, I think she might be the best runner in this field, especially at that distance. I mean, we're talking about a really, really good field of runners. In, like I said, you're going to have Haley Adams, you're going to have Emily Rolfe, you have the Wells sisters, you have Uda is a very good runner herself. I mean, but I really think VAR is probably the best runner in this field, and I wouldn't be surprised if she wins it. And that's what you want to see is a 2-mile race that goes down to like a sprint at the end, because we hardly ever see that, especially for the winners. And I want to see that. I want to see that race at the end of 2 miles.
Lynn with the machines, she's got some top 5s in there. Yeah, I think she's, we've seen Vor. Her total potential is very, very good, but there's some huge problems still for her when it comes to competing at the very highest level. So, I mean, anyone who watched Wadland and Malaga saw that she was in the mix, and then she took a last place finish, and she's likely going to have another one, maybe a couple others that are pretty tough here. And this field is just, like the men's field, it's just so strong. So I'm not sure that her best performances are wins against a field like this. They may be like 7th to 10th. We'll see about the run. Just because the field's so strong, and her worst finishes are going to be, right down there towards the bottom. So let's see. Emily Rolfe, I mean, look, I'm assessing a version of Emily Rolfe here that is in my, unknown. It's clearly not her best. We all get that. This is basically where she finished in Indianapolis once everything settled out, and we saw her in NorCal where she did great on the stuff she could do, but she couldn't do everything. So until I know that she can do everything, I have to account for a version of her that can't do everything. It seems like at the very least the final is something that she was unable to do a couple months ago at all. So Emily's showing up here. I know she always shows up with the intentions to compete and compete hard, but there's no room for error in a field like this. And I think that if you are limited in the way that we've seen her recently, it's almost impossible to stay out of the bottom 5.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw what she did at NorCal. I think it's kind of the same thing here. I think right now she's just coming here to get the points that she needs to make it to Copenhagen. Hopefully by Copenhagen, she's near 100%. So it's more about managing your placing here than it is to do better. She's playing the long game, which is typical of Emily Rolfe, being a endurance type athlete. You play the endurance game, and I think that's what she's doing here. I mean, obviously, due to her contract as one of the signed athletes, I mean, she's obligated, but not. I mean, obviously, if you're injured, you don't have to compete here. But she's shown that she has the ability to do things and do things very well, even being hurt. So,
best case scenario, she's fine, and we get to see a version of her that's definitely not going to be 28th. But
exactly, that's what that's what we're hoping on. But
Bruce Wayne,
Bruce is back.
What's up, man?
Bruce brings up a good thing. I mean, it's like, how does she manage that shoulder? Does she try things and maybe re-aggravate it, and then even puts Copenhagen in jeopardy? I think she shows up, gets her points that she needs, and manages that situation. We're not going to see Emily Rolfe at her best, but we are going to see a version of her that's good enough.
We got an athlete here right at the top of this list, Kyra Milligan. She passed on the opportunity to compete in Indianapolis in the challenger field, I believe. She is apparently showing up for this one in Mesa. I wasn't entirely sure where to put Kyra. She hasn't competed a ton this year. But that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. What do you think about the right around 20 middle, like 2/3 of the way through this field for Kyra?
I mean, I think it's a safe pick to put her at 21, but I think she's going to finish much higher on that. She'll take a little bit of a hit on the run, but I think after that, all the workouts favor her. And and again, it also depends on how beat up some of these athletes ahead of her are. She comes in pretty fresh. She comes in with a little bit of chip on her shoulder. This is her games right here. I mean, obviously Rogue is I think she's looking at Rogue as in terms of that's her beginning of her 2026 season or off season. But this is kind of like that's one reason why she's doing this, especially not doing Indianapolis, is kind of using this as her games, her to put a kind of a cap on her 2025 season, because the chances of her making it to Copenhagen are very, very slim. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she would.
I don't know. Her and Jamie, I don't think they'll have a chance to make Copenhagen based on the way the women's field has sorted itself out.
So I think for her and Jamie, which we'll talk about later, I think this is just the final, final cap in the season to kind of give them a full season of training. And I think that's what a lot of athletes have done with this. And I think it's smart, especially the athletes like, that didn't compete at the games. But for someone like Kyra, it wasn't by choice. It was just for unfortunate circumstances. But I think it's a smart decision. I think she's going to do very well. Again, she might take a little bit of a hit on that run.
Well, I try to assess like her relevant competition experience from the last 2 years, and you have sort of two different stories with her. When there's not a very deep field, she stays right up at the top. Last chance qualifier, few athletes, she's second, so she's one spot out of the games. Syndicate Crown, there were a lot of athletes there, but they weren't a lot of top end athletes. 7th, maybe not as good as people expected. Crash Crucible, similarly, where she's going to be in that top group, but how high up? 4th, it's okay. West Coast semis, the breakout 8th place was awesome. But in the couple other competitions where a majority of the athletes who are in this field, or a bigger number of them, are competing, Wadapalooza, even the online semifinal, she's in the 20 range, 24, 29, something like that. So on paper, she's done enough that like her worldwide ranking would put her kind of right in the middle of this field, 15, 16. but I against fields similar in quality, she's doing a little bit worse than that. So I'm looking for that. I want her to be in that 15 range, like to back up that ranking against a field like this, but kind of need to see it from her first.
And we'll be able to see it too. But I like these workouts. I know you and Wes went over the workouts on Monday, but I really do like these workouts for her. And she doesn't have as many holes. There's not like 2 or 3 events. I'm like, yeah, she's gonna be bottom of the half. I look at a lot of them. I'm like, she's gonna be top half, if not top 10 in some of these workouts.
Last one I wanted to ask you about on here is the one we've got the picture of there, Hannah Black. Great performance in the Challenger division in Indianapolis. I think a lot of people were wondering specifically about her, how well she would have done in the pro field. We know she's got some strengths. It seems like she's rounding out a lot of other stuff. I didn't love this. I didn't feel great about having her here. The field's very, very difficult. What do you think the top end potential for Hannah is?
Top end, I think it's right there near Kyra, top 15, if not a little bit. I mean, I think what Hannah has that into working in her advantage is that she's gotten better as a runner. We've been able to see that. She got a lot of competition experience this year. So it's actually been really kind of cool. She's actually had like a couple months off. I think she
Finally.
but she did do some. I think she did one of those. Was it not athletics, but it was some type of like competition down in Texas. But we obviously know what her strengths are, which is her strength. She's I think she's on the cusp of breaking through. And I think this season she's going to look back at the season as the reason why, like the experience that she got, kind of like seeing where she does in live competition. She did great in Indianapolis, and then kind of struggled through the semifinals. But she's I think her top end potential is top 15, top maybe even high as 12, if not.
Yeah, I mean the programming here for her reminds me a little bit of what we saw in Torian. And if you take out the deficit strict handstand push-up workout or whatever it was, where she couldn't do it really, she would have been right up there in the podium mix. Instead, she was 12th. I'm basically projecting that this field is at least twice as hard as that field in terms of the total depth, and that I think that she's going to have 1 to 2, similar with Linda Kieschman and a few other athletes, Vor, that we talked about, that are just like way down there at the bottom. They offset those big picks. And then the question is, like, you're going to see fine margins on some of these workouts, as we know from Indianapolis. And the difference between being at the top and the end of a group of 5 women that coming across the line on 2 or 3 different workouts over the weekend, I think will be the difference for the athletes in this range between a 25th and an 18th, or a 22nd and a 16th. So I think Hannah is going to have the opportunities to, win or lose some of those close battles against the women that she's close with in her heat or the division overall. And whatever side she comes out on is going to be whether we see her in the 20s or maybe pushing into the teens. So, yep, those are the 21 through 30 there. In terms of the middle group, a lot of interesting storylines throughout here. We already mentioned it, though. Jamie Simmons is the other athlete that's a newbie in this division that wasn't in Indianapolis at all. Her and Kyra being the 2. Jamie had a great start to the year. She did qualify for Indianapolis. She chose not to compete, to go do some family stuff. I've been basically asking for it. I've been saying, how good is Jamie Simmons right now compared to the best woman in the sport? I don't really know for sure, but I think she can flirt with the top 10. I've got her just outside here. How do you assess Jamie's kind of top and bottom potential against this field?
I mean, when she's healthy, and like I said, I'm assuming she is healthy. I mean, what I saw at Sand Clash, what we saw at Dubai, I don't think she has any injuries or anything she's dealing with. I think, if anything, she's fresh. I mean, a Jamie Simmons who's fresh is one of the best CrossFit athletes in the world. I mean, she's shown that time and time again. It's always been like an injury or an unfortunate accident, or, not enough spots in Oceania is the reason why she doesn't make it to the games to prove herself. But we all know when she gets to the game, she's a top 10 person. You have her 11th here against a very strong field. It's just missing essentially Tia, and you have all the top athletes here. I think 11 is fine. I just don't know if she has the strength now, because a lot of these women just, you throw in someone like Olivia Kerstetter, and there's some of these other athletes are coming off just amazing games performances where their fitness is obviously improved. I think they might have maybe leapfrogged Jamie Simmons in that. And it's nothing against Jamie. I think Jamie's just, it's just athletes are getting better, and she hasn't been competing against the best athletes. She's been competing against the best athletes that are visiting her region of the world, which is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, the last time we saw her at the game, I thought she was going to finish 11th if she didn't hurt her elbow. I feel like, some of the athletes that were better than her then aren't competing anymore. Some new ones have come in. I'm sort of assessing a very similar, just right on the fringe of the top 10 against a field like this. But yeah, a lot of, I guess Lynn was saying that she had a little Achilles thing at High Rocks. I don't know about that. I'm assuming that Jamie's going to show up. She crushed the qualifier. I mean, we'll see in the top 10, one of the athletes who's having one of the better years of anyone is Annika Greer, and Jamie beat her in that qualifier as well. So hopefully she's healthy, because like you said, adding her to the mix is a super fun dynamic in the equation. Looking at some of the others here, Jen Muir moves up from the challenger division, where she didn't look like she belonged in the challenger division. She looks like she should have been with the pros in Indianapolis. Now she is. I have her here 17th. And obviously she got the experience at the games. Look at the athletes around her and the experience there. Brooke Wells, Haley Adams, Danny Spiegel, even Sydney Wells. But I feel like Jen Muir is definitely in the middle 10 of this group. I'm not sure what the top end for her is yet. I don't know if she knows. I think she's just like continuously sliding up this leaderboard.
Yeah, Jennifer, coming off the games, she looked so impressive the first 2 days, and then kind of hit a wall. She had what was it? It was she finished second in the deadlift at 355 pounds, which was, back squat, 355 pounds, and she obviously showed. When you're finishing, you look at her and you look at Mirjam van Roer, their body compositions and the type of athletes are complete opposite. And if you had to pick one out who was a better squatter, you'd pick Mirjam. But Jennifer looked impressive. But then she followed that second place with a 26th, a 24th, a 29th, a 4th, and then a 22nd. The running Isabel, that's what she got the 4th in. She's a runner. She's a really good runner. That's really good. But then some of these other workouts where it had a lot of upper body pulling, where she's lacking at is and some of the gymnastics, it really hurt her. I think she's definitely going to struggle on the handstand push-up. That was a workout that I believe that was the workout that she got capped at 29th. And she also struggled on the pegboard as well. She's learning, and I think she's just 17th here. I think might be that's I don't know.
Ambitious?
Yeah. She's going to do good. Again, we talk about this runner. This is where a lot of those runners are. Jamie Simmons, Fee, Oda, Brooke, Haley, Jennifer, I'm not going to say Danny Spiegel, Sydney Wells, Lydia Fish. These are some of the top. Those are all runners you'd put in top 12 runners in the world, with the Emily Rawls, with the Vars. But Jennifer, I think this might be a high ranking for her, but we'll see. I don't know if the program really doesn't favor her as opposed to the programming at Indianapolis did. But who knows? Maybe it was just the long weekend, the pressure of the games kind of led to kind of her struggle there towards the end. But at the end of the day, she still finished 20th in the games. That just shows you how good she started off the games.
Right. There's this storyline that everyone's just obviously aware of. There's athletes that competed at the games. There's athletes that haven't made any investment into the game season this year. And the question is, now that the games has happened and that whole training cycle has gone through and all the physical, mental, emotional toll of competing at the games and turning around 3 weeks later and going against just as hard or a more difficult field, how is that going to affect athletes? How will the athletes who didn't do that fare? And probably, one of the biggest ones to talk about is Emma Tall. I think that in Europe, especially, we've seen her right up there at the top. She was basically in the same spot that I have her here, 12th place in Indianapolis. She's in Nashville training. She looks lean. She looks fit. I want to see her do better than this. I was a little surprised she didn't in Indianapolis. What do you think? Does Emma Tall push to the top 10 here?
I don't know. There's your answer. I don't know. It's a freaking tough field. I mean, I know Brooke didn't have the greatest games. Sydney, her season's been kind of, just in flux. I mean, she didn't have the best game season, but I still like them over someone like Emma Tall. And I think I don't, it's just hard for me to put Emma there because I can't remember the last time I've seen a fully, you have when I guess at French Throwdown a couple years ago, like a fully healthy Emma Tall, not dealing with.
And that's the key. And Lynn mentions it here. Something was off in Indianapolis. She thinks maybe it was labrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if Emma is fit to go, which I hope she is, because she's also meant to do the Tier Cup coming up. I think we see her in the top 10 mix. But a lot of the women in this division or in this portion of this division are women that finish in this region of the leaderboard in Indianapolis. Emma, Fee, Uda, Brooke, Haley, Sydney. I think we're all in this mix. And I was curious, Danny. I thought Danny Spiegel retired. Nope, she hasn't. She was 23rd in Indianapolis. I think she's going to do a little bit better here, but TBD. Last person I wanted to ask you about here is Lydia Fish. Kind of a late bump up into the pro field, and I mean, I think she's had a really impressive year. What do you think about her rounding out this middle group?
Coming off of 13th place as a rookie at the games, I think this is an appropriate maybe a spot for her. She showed a lot at the games. I mean, what I liked is how she just didn't back down. There was a couple times like she was going like head to head with like Tia, and she was fine. And she showed me a lot. The back squat event, she showed a lot of toughness. And I mean, that's what Lydia is. She's a tough athlete. We all know that. That girl doesn't quit. And against this field, she knows she belongs now. She's not going to look around and say, oh man, there's Danny Spiegel, there's Brooke Wells, there's Haley Adams. She knows she belongs in that field. She's competed against them in the syndicate crown. Maybe sometimes not in the same heat, but she's seen them. But now she has competed in heats. She was in that. She was in that last heat when people like Brooke Wells and Jennifer and some of these other athletes were in the heat ahead of her. So I think the confidence is really going to help her. And I'm not so sure about the programming, but knowing Perrin's going to have her the most involved, most prepared. And Lydia she's such a good listener.
They've cultivated one of those relationships, coach athlete, that does make a difference in competition weekend.
Yeah, very similar.
How much the coach can affect the placing varies, situation to situation. I think they're towards the top of that list.
Yeah. I mean, it gives me almost like Alex Gazan Kotler vibes, the way that they've cultivated that. And I don't think Lydia is going to finish 20th. I think she's going to be further up than that. But there's just so many question marks, coming out of the games. Like, how beat up is someone like Lydia, who's one of the smaller athletes in the field? How beat up is she from the games? Let me look at her finish here. She ended 27th to 20th and 19th and 11th to 26th, but finished with an 8th in the final workout. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is a good test for her. This is a really good finish here. Will do amazing things for her confidence. and going into the off season and going into, Copenhagen, because she's putting herself, even though she is the backfill in this, it puts her in backfill doesn't mean you're automatically the 30th just because you're the last athlete in doesn't mean you're going to finish last. There's athletes, we've seen this before. I mean,
Cindy McClishan.
Yeah, exactly.
Had a late bump up, finished 21st. I'm expecting something similar from Lydia here. I think you've nailed it. She's a fearless athlete, growing in confidence. Her and Perrin are stacking competition experience, and they can cite back to when things go well or when they don't. So I think she's a exciting athlete. I'm glad she's in this field. As you mentioned, for these women that have been in the pro field for both of them, that's going to basically guarantee them a spot into the finals in Copenhagen. So athletes like Lydia, Uda, Fee on this list particularly, even Jen Muir, having won the Challenger division, likely will be in a great spot to go to the finals. And so these points will continue to have potentially very meaningful impact into their next year as well, because someone like Lydia, young athlete, if she's able to get into that top 20 somehow, get a pro card, get some guaranteed money coming in, it does free up a lot of opportunities for her to make decisions with a little bit more freedom than we've previously seen. So
yeah, pays for that wedding she has planned.
Oh, see, those are the things that you know about.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Jennifer. Like, Jennifer needs you have to crunch the numbers here, but I think for someone like Jennifer, she needs like a top 15 finish for her to kind of to maybe get an invite to Copenhagen. I think she knows that, and I think more than anything, we're gonna see. I want to see Jennifer Muir at her back against the wall intensity, how she deals with that pressure. We've kind of been, this being our first breakout year. I mean, this is someone we've kept an eye on for the last couple of years, kind of very similar with Lydia Fish, but she kind of broke out this year. But now we see how she does with that pressure at such a young age.
In anticipation of the top 10, we have this lovely comment from T-Bird. Your rankings are definitely interesting. Let's look at the top 10 picks in the pro division here. I think we'll start at the bottom again and work our way up. I put Alexis Raptis down here. I'm not 100% sure where she's at. I mean, she was clearly injured at the game. She still managed to finish 10th. She's been posting stuff that's encouraging, getting the track sessions in, looking decently. Obviously, if there is any kind of lingering thing there with the back, you wonder about the clean. You wonder how heavy she'll choose to go and how she'll manage the deadlifts. Obviously, she's still super fit and able to manage that. So I think we'll see something similar this time around. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to talk to her before the games, and that's when I found out about her, her back, and that she literally hadn't done anything in like a month. And and you could tell she was kind of like blowing up on the run a little bit, but it just shows how tough she is. I mean, we know how tough she is. I mean, her dealing with her her intestinal whatever, the gastric problem. But then just dealing with this on top of that, and then just getting better for her to finish top 10. I look at back, and no disrespect to Colton, who got Spirit of the Games, but I also thought Alexis Raptis should have been considered for that as well, because I mean what she showed throughout the weekend, people knowing that she was dealing with an injury, and then once complain or say, hey, it's my back's fault. She's like, that's just sport. Right. We'll just go out there and do it. She never once complained. Even now, her post, she's not really posting. She's like, okay, back on it. We're on it. I'm doing good. We're going to be fine. I mean, that's just attribute the type of person Alexis is. She doesn't sit there and blame or never. She's never the victim. She has control.
No, and when we had her on the podcast, she talked about, people didn't see me for 5 or 6 years between the teenage games and where I've gotten to now. And again, it was something that she never felt the need to bring attention to herself. She just kept at it, kept working hard. She clearly likes doing it. So resiliency is definitely a shining characteristic of Alexis Raptis. I have Olivia in 9th here. I wasn't exactly sure. I'm still not exactly sure how to like quantify what happened at the CrossFit Games for her, as if this is a next jump up into the top women in the sport, or if it was just the perfect storm of events. There's no doubt in my mind that Olivia has improved from where she was a year ago, 6 months ago. She did make the top 10 in Indianapolis as well. She won a semifinal or qualifying event to get to the games. Obviously, she made the podium there. Is this criminally underrating Olivia, or do you think that this 8, 9, 10 range is more likely than a 3, 4, 5 range?
I don't think you're underrating her at all. I think amazing games, but the games it was output, it was power output. If you look at a lot of the workouts, there's a lot of power output type workouts, and that's what Olivia is. She's a power output athlete. You're not really seeing that here. You're seeing a little bit more balanced, balanced programming here.
And that was the thought. I mean, everyone knows she's going to take a hit relative to the other women that are competing for the.
You muted yourself.
Perfect. On the run and the strict handstand push-ups to start the weekend. We have another long 5-rounder to start Sunday morning. Obviously, there's some stuff she's going to crush. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. She takes 200 points on 4A and 4B by winning the clean and the row lunge. Like that could realistically happen. And I still think that it's going to be difficult against most of the women ahead of here are very consistent. And if they're not, then they're just as good as her. Then they're like just a little bit better than her with also obviously 1 or 2 big holes.
Yeah, I mean, the only exception would be someone like Annika, who, kind of like Olivia, is kind of a power output, similar like gymnastics level. I mean, I think Annika's obviously one of the best when it comes to rings, and thrusters, but Olivia's not that far behind, especially when it comes to thrusters. But Annika's going to take a hit on the run as well. I think where you have them at 8 and 9, I think that's fine. I mean, a lot of people is like, oh, you finished third at the games, but it's in comparison to the test and what's being tested, what the programming is like. And I think this programming is asking for a more well-balanced CrossFit athlete versus someone who's just a power output athlete or an endurance athlete or whatnot. If you see, if you look at 11 through 20, that's most of your endurance athletes there, and
right.
When you look at the 1 through 10, you're seeing a more well-balanced athlete, a CrossFitter, someone that can, is multifaceted in so many different things. So, I'm fine with Olivia at 9, and even someone like Annika at 8, even though she might hit a home run in a couple of these events coming up too.
Yeah, just like Olivia, I think Annika has the potential to win at least one workout this weekend against everyone in the field, that being workout number 2. Someone was asking if Olivia will take last in the run. I don't know. Annika's going to be down there also most likely, but I don't think they'll be the last and second last. I think they'll be, 25, 26, 24, something like that. But these are athletes. Is this a good test? I think this is a really good test because I think that almost every athlete that's in this top 10 is going to have a bottom 10 finish on at least one of the workouts. And the ones that probably won't have any top 3 finishes. They're just the area low ones that are good at everything, but maybe not winning any one thing. So yeah, I think that you're going to see some highs and lows, but in the case of a couple of these athletes, the highs are really, really high. Annika basically would have been in this spot at the WFP Indy if she hadn't dropped the dumbbells over her head. It caused her a little bit of grief because she had to do the online qualifier again, which she easily qualified through. But I think that what we're seeing from Annika is that the years of putting herself in competitive situations are finally paying off. The confidence, the belief, I think in her life in general, with the boyfriend that she has, really getting comfortable and settled in Miami. Like a lot of things are just in a good place for Annika. So I think she's going to be, plus, we talk about the games bounce back to WFP time period. The younger you are, the easier that is. And Annika's still very, very young. So I think her and Olivia benefit from that for sure. And I definitely could see them both doing better than this, but I feel pretty good about those picks actually.
Yeah, I don't think those are bad spots for either one of them. So I think good job, Brian.
Here we go. Maddie Sturt. I'll say this. I said this about Jay Crouch. on the men's show. Obviously, him and Maddie had the same finishes at the games. I wanted to put them. I literally want to put them on the podium. I believe that they can do it. They haven't done it yet. Maddie has this strange thing. She starts competitions very well, and then she tapers off on the last third of the competitions for some reason. I think she's continuing to move in the right direction. I think she will continue to move in the right direction. Top 5, I would say fifth is probably the best I could see her doing in this field right now. But a year from now, I wouldn't be surprised if Maddie Sturt does podium at a competition like this. I just don't think we're quite there yet. I have an obvious Northern Hemisphere bias. Well, 90% of the world's population is in the Northern Hemisphere. 90% of the field that has competing here, at least, is from the Northern Hemisphere. In fact, Jamie Simmons 11th, Madeline Sturt 7th are the only 2 from the Southern Hemisphere, I think, in this field. I feel like that's a pretty good representation. So I'm going to have to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on all those points with Maddie. It's like we've been seeing, she had that stretch there where she struggled to get to the games because Oceania just wasn't given the spots, even though they had the athletes for those spots. Same with like Jamie Simmons, but Maddie has gotten so much better, and her and Jay have they're like when people ask, hey, I don't think there's camps are good for athletes or whatever. I think Jay and Maddie are they're the argument for that camps are good. Because since they made that switch to proven, and again, nothing against Rob Forte, I think they did as much as they could with Rob, and I think Rob would even say the same thing about them. But
we'll call her Equator or something like that.
Yeah,
she's in the middle,
central, middle-ish. But yeah, Maddie, I think I'm there with you. I think she's, at some point she's gonna make a podium. But right now, just with these level of athletes, these are athletes that have beaten her before, and she's just not there yet. I mean, it's hard to put someone like Maddie in front of someone like Ariel or even Emma Lawson right now. But the way Amy Kringle is going right now, it's just like, I think it's going to be tough for her to be a top 5, but I think being 7 is it's a comfortable spot for her to put her at. It's a safe spot.
And I don't think she's not satisfied at all with what happened at the games or at the first WFP. She has ambitions of being much better than this. I think we believe that that's possible, but it's, similar to a few others. You just got to show it. All of the women ahead of this on her list have already shown that they can podium at big competitions. She's waiting to make that next step. That brings us to Amy Kringle. And I mean, look, I haven't seen a single comment in the chat or on the post about Amy Kringle. I think a lot of people feel good about her being a top 10 athlete at this point. And she podiumed in the first one. She was looking like she might podium at the games. She had a bad last day and dropped off. And I don't know. I think she's kind of middle of the top 10 here. We know she can make a podium. I don't think she's going to do it again this time around. I think that there's a few other athletes that have a higher likelihood to do that than her. Anything to add about Amy here?
No. I think the workouts are good for her. Again, she's going to do really good on the run. I don't see her having, you brought up like her kind of blowing up at the games. I don't see that happening here, especially with only like 6 workouts or 7. She might struggle in one of those events, but I think the rest, they're easily top 10 finishes. And, against this field, if you can keep on getting top 10 finishes, that's gonna get you into the top 5, hopefully. And you have her at 6, I think it's fine. I think that podium, I think she believes that she's a podium contender, and I think more than anything that's good. And for her, she'll be fighting for that podium up until that last event, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. And she does have the top 10s. She doesn't quite have the top 5s to back it up. So she, can look for, only had 2 of those in the, one of them was a win, which is great. If she can notch another win, obviously that's super helpful. But I think Amy, she's in a great spot, and meaning she's one of the top 10 that's showing up at these competitions for the time being. But I think that the range within the top 10 is still pretty dramatic. Like she can be 3rd, she could be 10th. So I kind of have her here in the middle. A lot of comments about Emma Lawson coming in. Let's take a look at some of them here. Lynn says she might swap Emma with Olivia and Alexis, who are at the bottom of this list. Question from Bruce, if Emma Lawson is feeling better, to put her at 5th. My perception of Emma Lawson hasn't changed much this year. I haven't seen anything to sway me from the narrative that I've been observing, which is that she wasn't at 100% early in the year, hence the decision to only do the team portion of Wodapalooza. She chose not to do the game season, I think, to put herself in a very predictable pattern to build up the back to get into the form that we saw her at a couple years prior. And it feels like that's happening. So it feels like from Wodapalooza to the first tour stop, there was an improvement. From what I've seen in social media and heard from talking to some people, it feels like there's a similar level of improvement. This time around, she was 6th at tour stop 1, picking her 5th here. It seems very reasonable to me. My biggest question is, can she do even better than this?
Sorry. Wow. Are you asking me that question? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, are we gonna see? When are we gonna see the version of Emma Lawson that can podium at one of these things again?
Soon. What I'm hearing, the reports out of the camp, out of Brute, she's done a couple camps. She went down to Jacksonville a couple times, been out there to train with Torres. I think it's, and I getting a chance to talk about Torres. He's like, man, she's amazing, and she's just getting better, and she's so coachable. And which explains a lot. I mean, it's a big jump for her to move to Brute, but she did her due diligence, and the more and more I see from her and hear about her, I think that she's closer to being that perennial podium finisher that we all thought she was going to be, than going the other direction. She's found like a good balance between her life and working out, so where she's not burning herself out. I think you see that when you watch her YouTube videos talking about her dealing with her mental health and stuff like that. I think she's found that balance, and I think she's found the fun and love in it again. I think that's very important.
It absolutely is. I think, she certainly had her pick of the litter from coaches that she could have reached out to, chose to work with. She clearly has a good relationship with Fee. Fee's been, really showing the fruits of working with someone like Matt Torres in a pretty intimate setting. And I think that the time we talked about it when it happened, like the time frame of when that impact would happen for Emma Lawson was not known, but it was also a little different variables. She's already been towards the top of the sport. She's trying to work her way back there, and she's with a coach who's worked with a lot of young athletes, had a lot of success with young athletes. So I think Emma Lawson I think by the end of the year, everyone's going to accept again, yeah, this is a top 5, whether she's competing at the games or WFP or wherever she is or isn't, that she's a top 5 athlete in the fields when she's healthy and shows up in them. So I like Emma Lawson there. I actually thought about putting her higher, but kind of just want to leave some room to see that growth over the rest of the year. Picture Ariel Lowen. I got her in 4th. She's pretty much been here all season, right there at the games. First tour stop, she was 5th, 4th at the games. Like, it just feels like she's just outside the podium conversation. Always dangerous to, like, you can't ignore her. She's going to be right in the mix. We talk about consistency. She's sort of the epitome of it on the women's side right now. Not really any holes. Hard to beat her. But she also hasn't found her way onto a podium this year. So I'm just putting her right where she's kind of been.
Yeah, I mean, if Ariel sees us, she'll probably be like, "Thanks, Brian. That's awesome that you have me ranked so high in front of all these girls." She's so matter of fact about it and so just like humble about things. It's like, it's because she's really truly one of those people. Like, I love everyone that I don't want to be put ahead of all these people because I like those people, but I mean, she is, a top 5 games finish. She had, I believe she had one event win, but we'll test it.
Interesting note from Nadine here, basically suggesting that Ariel's reflection on the games was that if she'd spent a little bit more time testing, she may have been prepared for some of this kind of small execution opportunities that are the difference between making a podium or not. It's obviously a small turnaround to the games. The announcement of the workouts 3 weeks ahead of time, I think, is exceptionally helpful for the athletes who did compete at the games, because they can narrow that focus instead of feeling like they have to prepare for this vast unknown test again. So that's the pushback that I'd say to the freshness of the athletes coming in, is if you're coming off the games, obviously you're in incredible shape, assuming you didn't hurt yourself there. If you can take a week off and really narrow in on a few critical things in a build up to another competition, I think you can sort of parlay or maintain the fitness. So yeah, curious to see if she'll do that for sure. Ariel, always in the mix for the podium, in my opinion, at this point, but I have her right on the outside. A lot of comments about the top three. Bruce says Lucy will win it. AHA, curious how hungry Laura will be. Bruce again, change of camps. How well is DB going to do? And CJ came in late. Nice to have you here. Good afternoon. There's something in my brain that automatically rejects the notion of Danielle Brandon over Lucy Campbell. Even though Danielle Brandon beat Lucy Campbell at the first tour stop, I can definitely resonate with this reaction. When I first sat down to do this, Patrick, I said, okay, Lucy's going to win. And then I started filling everyone else in. When I looked at the workouts, when I looked at the field, when I thought about some of the other perspectives that I've had a chance to interact with, I obviously went in a different direction here. For once, someone agrees with my number one pick. Wow.
Hey, I agree. I agree with DB at one, but let's talk about Lucy here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lucy Campbell, I think everyone's very familiar with her story at this point. I feel like, she's gone from will we ever see her compete again to she's obviously one of the top 5 in the world in a very short amount of time. We have some other athletes in that group, though, that yes, she's beating them in some cases, but she did take 4th at the first tour stop. So there's no guarantees for Lucy to make these podiums. Obviously, she looked incredible at the games, but this is a little bit different style of testing and a little bit different field to compete against. So I like her on the podium. I don't like her to win. What do you think about Lucy?
I probably agree. I mean, just looking at the games, Lucy, amazing performance. But I think what got lost in all of that was how well DB did. And it's more, and that's with 2 bottom finishes. I mean, DB struggled at the pegboard, which, that's
the change of camps, which we, is a question here. So that
I don't think so. I don't think the change of camps. I think DB it's never been about camps for DB. I think it's just like she just needs a program. She just needs someone to provide feedback. If those that know DB, Brian, we've had conversations with her many a times. And what does she always want? She wants feedback. She's always asking about your thoughts, what you think, stuff like that. That's what she needs more than anything than a camp. She just needs someone to bounce ideas and thoughts off of. She's more than capable. She knows what her body's capable of doing. And, and that's evidence in the back squat. She finished dead last on that. She knew she was going to get dead last, but, and I mean, a health, that's just the state of the world she is. Is she stronger than? Yeah, but I think it's more of a mental block than anything. But why try to hurt yourself on something to get points when it can hurt you the rest of the competition? So I think that she's going to be. I think Lucy is in a good position here. I actually think Lucy might even beat Laura in this, just based off the confidence that Lucy has now. I mean, if she didn't have the confidence before beating Laura at Wodapalooza, she definitely has the confidence beating everyone but Tia now. She's beaten every person.
And Alex Gazan.
And Gabby too. So,
well, she hasn't competed against Gabby. She did compete against Gazan and Tia, and she didn't beat them. Yeah. I was looking at that. So I was prepared for that one. Nadine says here, I'm not a huge DB fan, but I do feel like there's some things going in her favor. The lower pressure of this compared to some other stages, potentially the programming and momentum. Momentum, definitely. When you look at the programming, we've talked about it with a lot of the women, that there are some pitfalls or some landmines. But she can run. The clean is a good lift. If you're going to get a lift in a competition, it's a good draw for her compared to some of the other ones. The roll on should be good. All the gymnastic stuff, the volume of the handstand pushing, rope climbs, burpee box jump overs, pirouettes, the muscle ups in the final, like she's going to handle that pretty well. So I think that Nadine is on the mark here with a lot of these expectations surrounding Nadine. Let's so now we have Laura, we have Danielle, we have Lucy, we have Danielle, we've talked about a little bit. Laura Horvath, super interesting here. I think a lot of people would see the strict handstand push-ups and immediately say she can't win this competition. You look at the rest of the workouts, and I think she's got top 5 in every other workout, almost guaranteed, with probably 2 event wins. Maybe not the run. Maybe she'll be like 6 to 10 on the run. And I think that that's more than enough to make up for the handstand push-up pitfall. I mean, keep in mind, at Wadapalooza, like you referenced, Lucy Campbell was like 36 out of 40 on the clean and won the competition because she had so many other top 2-3 finishes. That's what I think you're going to see out of Laura here. We've seen it from Haley Adams in competitions. She can bottom out and still be in the podium. Someone asked if Laura's going to be hungry after the first event. You talk about an athlete who is really good at, showing up when she wants to and when she needs to. I don't think she's going to be happy in any way about what happened in Indianapolis. And I think that we're going to see more of what we expected this time around.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I mean, obviously there's some workouts that she's going to struggle in. I actually think she's going to do fairly decent in that run. She's really underrated as a runner. But obviously, the big, the big thing on everyone's mind is how she's going to do in that handstand workout. So,
the weird thing is there's several athletes in the women's field that are not that good at that.
Exactly.
So what a lot of people look at and say, well, that's a last place. It may not actually be a last place. It may be a 26th place. And if it's a 26th place compared to a last place, those points could end up being valuable as the weekend goes on. And compared to most of the other women who are going to struggle on that, she's just better at the other stuff. I mean, if she doesn't win the clean, she's going to be in the top 3. Row lunge, top 3. Which one? The final, I think she's going to be right at the top 3. So I just think you're going to see. Yeah, I think we're going to see a different version of her. Obviously, could be wrong, but that's what I'm expecting from Laura.
And I mean, she knows. I mean, she's well aware of how people finished up the games that she wasn't there at. So she has something to prove. And Laura, when she has something to prove or a goal in mind, I mean, it's a good version of her. I mean, even when she was, even when Tia was, dominating, she was still going out there trying to beat Tia in individual events, saying I can get her in these events. She may get me overall, but there's going to be these workouts I get it. It's like DB. DB always knew that, she could always beat Tia in a handstand workout until Tia started getting really good at handstand walking. But yeah, I think Laura, what we're going to see, especially how her previous WFP last time we saw in the field of play, how it ended, I think what we're going to see is a very close and tight field, and especially between those top 3 athletes. But I think even as far as 7.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the reality is the way that Will structured this programming is that there are a couple opportunities for those pitfalls that we saw from last time to happen to any athlete. I don't think that I don't know if there's anything quite as risky or risk reward as that double overhead walking lunges. I mean, it's one of the most difficult movements you could program at the end of a competition with a lot on the line. And that didn't go her way. I don't think she's going to make those mistakes though. I think if there is one out there, maybe it's the handstand walk pirouette mandation, whatever that distance is and how that works out. But I'm expecting a much more clean run from her. Not to have that kind of thing that happened in the first workout this time around, or the last workout. So, and I think it's good for the competition in general if Laura is executing. It's good for some of the other women to get a chance to test themselves against her because, at the end of the season they're also going to be battling for that overall championship. And I mean, look, Danielle Brandon, I got a pick to win here. She podiumed in Indianapolis. Like, she's definitely a contender, especially with Gazan not showing up for this one, to potentially win this whole season, which could be pretty cool for her. So I don't know. I thought I actually felt a lot better picking the top 10 on the women's side than the men's side. Probably no one's going to be too surprised to hear that. And yet there are definitely women in that 6 through 10 range that could totally upset these picks. So I think it's going to be pretty fun.
What was that sound? Was that me? Oh,
that was me.
Yeah, once again, it's fun. I'm excited. I mean, I was talking to Kate and some other people, some of the media that are going, they're really excited about this. And I think it's just because, I mean, the games were fun. It was really good. I think it's just a different environment overall. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, WFP in the games, they're just different. It's fine. Different is good. I mean, the athletes don't seem to mind. If the athletes don't seem to mind, then what? Then what? I don't know. But either way, I think it's going to be fun. I am some of the media. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think again, it's one of those. It's going to be a relaxed but competitive environment because there is a lot on the line especially for some of these athletes who are, trying. I mean, there's money involved. I mean, they do have contracts, but they have an ability to make more money from on top of their contracts. So there's a lot on the line, and this is just the start of something that that is just going to evolve and get better and leave the help these athletes become better versions of themselves on the competition floor, because that's ultimately what we want to see is these athletes compete more and for these athletes to compete more, they need to make money doing it, and this is how you do it.
Absolutely. So that's a rundown. I don't think so. I don't think this is I'm not concerned about this with Laura. I think she'll be in the fight. But fair question. Yeah, that's a rundown for the women. As Patrick mentioned, Wes Peters was on with me on Monday to look through the men's field, so you can see all my picks leading into that one. Yesterday we had Jared Graybill on. It was a fun conversation with him. Later today, maybe tomorrow, we're gonna put up some picks, top 3 picks in all the divisions for the Masters and Teenage Games that's coming up this weekend. Patrick's gonna be there. He's got some stuff going on, so maybe we'll have some content coming out of the Masters games. But it's a pretty exciting time of the season. Obviously, for a huge part of a community, this is the culminating event this year for in terms of the Masters and Teens. Huge international representation. A lot of the best athletes in the world will be there in those divisions. Looks like they have a pretty good team on site to cover that competition, so you guys can follow that. And we will take next week off from doing these shows on B.Friendly Fitness. I think we'll be in Mesa prepping for this event, but we will have some coverage throughout the weekend with the media that we have coming out there. So, PC.
I'm trying, T-Bird. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what I can do, but that's definitely talk me and Con we're talking about it. I mean, we should just did a behind the scenes or a week with Con when he was in St. Louis, but it was there's some things that it was a good time. But yeah, I'm here. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of cool people are coming. I mean, we got Chase coming in tonight. I think Tommy and Sean are coming in tonight. I got some plans, some stuff doing with John Woolley tomorrow. Taylor Self is apparently here too, and Bryson. So I'm sure I'll run into them. And yeah, it's just like Justin Kotler gets in tonight, so it's really cool. It's like a different set of vibes for me compared to the games, but it's going to be really cool. And like I said, it'll be having a good friend like Con competing, and this is he's going for gold, so I'm really invested in this. So, but
yes, Lynn, I've sent Patrick my picks. It's top 3 in every division. I do know most of the athletes that I'm picking for the top 3. There's a couple that I don't know, but have looked to be very good. And some of these divisions are absolute fire. I mean, even in the upper age ranges, there's some really, really kind of historic battles that will be on display there. So it should be a fun weekend. If you're into the Masters stuff, there's going to be a lot of fun storylines to follow.
Yeah, and I'll be on ground grabbing a lot of that stuff too. So hopefully I'll have some good content to throw up daily with you. It's a weird schedule, a lot of events, 600 athletes here. So we'll see what happens. I'll try to get as much as I can, at the same time trying to maintain my sanity. But all right, Brian, thanks for having me on this week.
Finally.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this week. I guess the next time I'll see you in. Are you picking me up from the airport?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you next week. Everyone else, hopefully, I'll see some of you guys. I'll see you guys next week. And if you're in the Columbus area, make sure you swing by and say hi. Find me, And enjoy the rest of the week. And don't forget, tomorrow the girls are on in the box office. They'll also be providing coverage next week on our channel of WFP. Do a show this week. Yep. Yeah. So I actually just threw down some significant money to get them basically a portable, portable broadcast studio. So they have some cool things planned. Maybe hopefully we're trying to get some guests for them. So a lot of cool stuff planned. So are you picking me up from there? I don't know. Jesus. So much. People just want so much out from us. But anyways, yes, Nadine, we will have safe travels. Same to you wherever you may go, especially next weekend for Labor Day weekend. But all right, we're letting you guys go. Hey, enjoy the week. And as always, be friendly. All